This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 89, about Gotham, Mad City, season 3, episode 10, Time Bomb.
I'm David Mazuz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Drew Powell, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
This is Robin Lloyd Taylor, and you are listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome back to Gotham TV Podcast, Gothamites. This is Derek, one of your hosts, and we're here to talk about Gotham, Mad City, season 3, episode 10, Time Bomb.
Yeah, I am one of your other hosts, John. Welcome back to this booming episode of Gotham TV Podcast, where, we see the time bomb enter into the fray.
Well, a time-delayed device, I think, was the big moment in this episode. Yes, this is our spoiler-filled coverage of episode 10 of season 3 of Gotham. Welcome back. Great to have you with us. I just wanted to quickly kind of start out with a couple of a little sad note, I suppose. Over the weekend, our first Batman, really, Adam West, passed away at the age of 88. Really sad news, and very sad to hear that he passed away.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think I spent most of my Saturday mornings when I was a kid watching episodes of the original Batman series on TV back in the 80s. Probably wasn't alive long enough to see it when it first aired in the 60s, but it was always a little touch point having a superhero TV show on television at the time. Now we have hundreds, but at the time we really only had that as a half-hour drama. We thought at the time, realized a lot later it was a lot campier and a lot funnier than something like Gotham is, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely out there, but completely just of its time and brilliant. I mean, as kids, I think it's down to not only the comics, but that TV show, why Batman is so beloved, so enjoyed, so popular even. So many people watched Adam West, either at the time when it aired or like Derek for myself. I watched it Saturday mornings, and just enjoyed the whole thrill of it. Definitely. Really good. And I mean, lastly is that as well, when we were over in New York Comic Con 2 years ago, the Adam West panel was just a really interesting run through his career, through Batman 66 and how it was produced, what they were doing. And obviously lastly then with Family Guy as Mer West as well. Really reprising that kind of goofy, oddball, kind of lovable character in Mer West. So,
I love that in Family Guy they always say he actually came up with the jokes. Everybody thinks that he was just given some crazy lines to say, but actually, apparently, he came up with loads of those jokes himself for Family Guy. That panel at New York Comic Con, it was one of those special moments where you're in a room with kids who are 8 years old and they know who he is from probably Lego Batman. I think he had some character in there. Obviously, the original Batman was in there. So seeing that when you had an 8-year-old kid and you had people that were around, later in years, 60 and 70 years old who would have grown up with Adam West as well. It was great to have a room full of people that were really hanging on every word he said. He was such an interesting character. That was actually for the release of the Blu-ray series, of all of the episodes all together at one time. So, sad loss really to the Bat family.
Absolutely.
But we will go on to good news, I suppose. There is a little bit of news as well about our Bullockism competition. So we will be closing the Bullockism competition in the next couple of episodes. If you want to get your Bullockism of the week in, just email us over at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. And we do have an additional prize that's been given to us by one of our listeners, Claire Payne, who we met over at London's Hero and Villain Fan Fest. She's given us a full base set of the Gotham Season 1 trading cards.
Wow.
Really nice of you, Claire. Thanks so much for handing that over. I'm sure we'll find a good home for it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Claire. And of course, to all you lucky competition entrants, it's a really good prize that you can get a folder and, collect them like the old football trading cards, as any trading card.
Well, yes, you will have to buy the folder yourself. We do just have the set of trading cards.
That's true.
From
that
Claire,
is true.
But it's a great starting point.
Definitely. For anyone interested in Gotham and these trading cards, and you can get ones as well with a slight bit of the costume. It's kind of the costume design and production card as well, which is really interesting to see that kind of novel trading card.
Yeah, it's really fascinating when you see one of the cards and it has some of the costumes from season 1 or season 2 that are almost iconic now. Some of the Maniacs outfits that they were wearing in the show, and you realize they've actually chopped those up and stuck them into trading cards now, so nobody will ever be able to wear them again. Quite interesting. And of course, we also have the Harvey Bullock pop that will be going to the winner of our Bullockism competition. All you need to do, as I say, is email us over to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. But with that, John, I think it's time to get into the episode, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yes. So, episode 10 of Gotham season 3, Time Bomb, was directed by Hanelle M. Culpepper. It's her first episode of Gotham, but she has done loads of TV, including Empire, Castle. She's done a couple of episodes of The Flash, including King Shark, John. Cool. That episode with Killer Shark in the show, which was a great one. And the episode was written by Robert Hull, who's kind of another one of our regular Gotham writers. He's written 7 episodes of the show, including Mad Grey Dawn and Mommy's Little Monster, John.
Sweet.
Yeah. So great to have him back on board. John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. Bruce Wayne learns the gang who's after the key is out to destroy the Court of Owls and is therefore not his enemy. Soon after, however, Talon murders the gang leader. Elsewhere, when Mario Falcone is targeted by assassins, his father Don Carmine Falcone deduces that the court is responsible and successfully blackmails them into ceasing their attack. Edward Nygma kidnaps and tortures Butch Gulzian and Tabitha Gallivan before discovering that they are not responsible for Isabella's death. Showing remorse after cutting off Tabitha's hand, he allows them to go to the hospital. After investigating the matter, Barbara Keene realizes Oswald Cobblepot killed Isabella and plans to use the truth to stage a power grab. Jim Gordon says one final goodbye to Leslie Tompkins before her upcoming wedding to Mario. When Mario sees Lee with Gordon from a distance, he bursts into a fit of rage and exhibits symptoms of the Tetch virus.
Oh, yes. This is a very Falcone-central episode.
Which is really good. Good to see Don Carmine back, actually, in Gotham.
Love Don Dolman.
Yeah, really, really good to see this. I love the fact that, Mario, there was always something slightly suspicious.
Yeah.
I think, or you wondered whether that was going to be the case. And I know there was a moment early on in the episode where, there's Carmine, there's Mario. I think they're leaving a restaurant and there's Leslie Tompkins there as well. And the issue of Alice Tetcher's blood and the virus contained within it does come up. And there's a few camera shots of knowing glances between Mario and Carmine, which is got me immediately suspicious that maybe Mario's bulging eyes are down to the voices and the pressure within. And of course, he goes all veiny.
That's right. Yeah, that was at
very veiny, in fact.
Yeah, that was at the rehearsal dinner, wasn't it?
In fact, maybe he should be called Mr. Vane.
Maybe, maybe. But let's get on to our points. I think the best place to start really is at the top. Mario is the target of the car bombing. Our first case note for the week. It's the car bombing that happened at the beginning of the episode. It kind of hinges on this throughout the episode as to who is the target, whether it is somebody who's an enemy of Don Falcone. He says himself he's got many enemies. Whether somebody's trying to kill him when he's going out to celebrate the wedding of his son to Leslie Tompkins. But really interestingly, it's Mario that's the target. So, but as you say, Mario starts to get more and more aggressive throughout this episode as well. So there's some reason. We don't really know why.
Yeah, there's a few attempts on his life, obviously outside of the restaurant, but also at Jewelers as he goes to pick up Leslie's wedding ring. The car bomb was an interesting one. I believe it was said that there were just a few burns, yet I'm absolutely sure that the maitre d' did get in the car and the car went boom, boom, hit the room.
He definitely went towards the car with the keys, and it looked like he opened the door, or it looks like he had enough time at least to open the door, and that's what set off the car bomb. So I was really surprised that there was no deaths.
Yeah, well, I think the D in maitre d' stands for dead.
Maybe.
I think he's dead.
They said no.
I would be surprised if he didn't snuff it.
Aye.
But we get this interesting play then of who are these people after him, as you say. Is it going to just be another mafioso family. But we find Falcone doing some homemade, DIY tooth surgery on one of the assailants. And not only was that something that made your eyes water, but even just the fact that they had, an owl eyes chisels drilled into their teeth kind of made me think, yeah, we're dealing with complete and utter nutters here. Definitely.
I did like Don Falcone's investigation here. He knew exactly what to look for. He did obviously suspect that the court were involved in some way, but obviously wasn't willing to tell Jim about it. Jim's not been being brought into the Court of Owl's idea yet, I suppose. But yeah, he finds that it is the court that's the one that's behind this attack on Mario, and goes to threaten Catherine.
Yeah, which is a big play, actually. Catherine is, the creaky librarian-looking lady who actually is hard as nails.
I wouldn't say that to her face, yeah.
No, exactly. And actually, there's a bit of back and forth between the two. They both give as good as they get. I mean, to some extent, equals. And to some extent, I just wonder, is Falcone in the Court of Owls? But to some degree. Obviously, he seems to have worked with them and been a part of any of their plans.
Yeah.
But also, I suppose he's not one of the old Gotham families, but he's certainly deeply involved with them. And, again, the question arises, why were the Court of Owls after Mario? Do they know that Mario is infected with this bloody virus?
Yeah. It felt like the court kind of let Falcone do what he wanted to in the city as long as he was within their control. Kind of like the way they do with everybody, really. Same with Oswald. He's being allowed to do by the grace of the court, effectively, as long as he's not messing what they want to do up. So that's what it feels like the relationship was with Falcone. He was trying to threaten Catherine, and Catherine very calmly was kind of saying, you do realize how much power we have, and you don't have anything like that kind of power.
Yeah.
Don't come at us.
I wonder if Catherine's false teeth have got those owl eyes.
I think it's quite likely. I think it's quite likely. But everybody knows who she is now.
Not that I'm suggesting she has false teeth, but you never know.
Aye. What did you think about the reveal of Mario when he does find Lee and Jim having their goodbye kiss?
Well, I definitely think it was signposted earlier in the episode. At least you were kind of thinking, why are the Falcones so interested about Alice Tetcher's blood? Maybe that is why Mario is also in the medical profession, so that he can look for some kind of cure for it. But I thought it was really good. I mean, actually, the actor who plays Mario, to me, is really looks like Mario Falcone from The Long Halloween, from one of the seminal Batman runs. It's really sort of slightly it's interesting and unnerving that he kind of does look like Mario from the comic book. And it's a really good ploy, because I think he's really good in this role, and I think he's really moved into it. And I think this just adds another good layer connected, obviously, to the Tetch virus. I liked it. I liked the veins being revealed as he effectively kills two kind of muggers on the street who are sort of harassing him. And of course, we even get to see in the Jewelers, he does kill one of the attackers just by strangling him. He loses it there, and is able to kind of hide that and pass it off by just saying, he was attacking me. I did what I had to do. But yeah, I think this is really interesting. I mean, poor Leslie. Another crazy guy.
She's got a type, I guess.
Yeah.
But on the investigation of the court, I think we go on to our second point. Alfred gets peppered. Yes.
Not pepper sprayed.
No.
But maybe. No, I think it was extract of fungus, echinacea, and ginger root oil.
It could well be.
No, it wasn't.
I didn't take down the ingredients.
I'm just making that up. But
homemade mind control.
Yeah, Alfred gets the wibbly wobbly camera back again, which is really good. To allow Poison Ivy to leave the confines of Wayne Manor and escape to getting captured, really. Yeah, she's not that great.
No, she's not. But I do like that it goes to prove that Alpha was absolutely right to keep Selena indoors. These guys were on the lookout for anybody connected with the necklace that was stolen. It seems like Ivy gets out for 20 minutes or something, and then she's been captured again. So yes, again, her body has grown. Ivy. Her mind, probably not. She seems to not understand the ways of the world.
But why she doesn't use her sassy perfumes on her abductors, I don't know.
Presume she would have tried. These guys are probably pretty smart and don't want to get very close to this girl's neck.
Yeah.
You know.
And who has she been caught by, I wonder?
I suppose that kind of takes us on to our next point, with Bruce and Selena going to bring the L key, or find out about the L key. Lots of investigation going on in the House of Wayne, where he's going through all the books, and Selena comes up with this concept of cleaning the key to see if there was anything underneath it, which I really like.
Yeah.
Really good idea. And it turns out to be the L key. So another connection with the Court of Owls. And they go off to find Ivy Pepper, who's been kidnapped by this other group who they think is the court.
Yeah, their insidious threads really are permeating through Gotham at this stage. But I do like how this is starting to develop, and the fact that the people who have been chasing them are no part of the Court of Owls at all, but are the Whisperers, a group that were sort of lured in, maybe a bit like Farmine, bit like Carmine Falcone, who, was dealing with the Court of Owls, working for them, and then got betrayed. Effectively, had run their course, their usefulness had gone, and of course, were turned on. Most of them killed, some escaped, and there's these three brothers, who are effectively taking the fight back to the Court of Owls, and they had not for much longer,
and maybe not brothers. They are connected together.
They are connected, yeah. and what I think the interesting thing here is that this key links to something that is of an immense threat to the Court of Owls, that it will lead to their destruction in some way. I wonder what that is. That's really kind of interesting.
Absolutely.
But also then, this is so much of a threat that they send Talon after them, and three become one.
Yes, that's true.
A slight variation on the Spice Girls theme.
Yes.
Or song, I should say.
What I do also like about this, and we keep referring to it, we've referring to it so long that it didn't seem weird. This is the first time we've had confirmation that this is the Court of Owls. They haven't actually been called anything other than the Court for this entire season. We're on episode 10, and it's revealed by the Whisperers that this is the Court of Owls that they're up against. And it's a bit of a moment for Bruce of enemy of my enemy is my friend now. So he's going to kind of team up with these guys.
Definitely. But there has been a lot of owl related iconography here, and a lot of the word court masks being used.
Yeah, the masks, obviously. So, yeah.
We did a giant leap here. Our theory has panned out, finally.
Mm-hmm. Nice to have it confirmed. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. But yeah, so, I mean, this is starting to develop, and to the point where by now this truce that Bruce Wayne has negotiated or agreed with Catherine in the Court of Owls, he's prepared to give that up now.
Mm-hmm.
He understands that there is a silver bullet for them.
That's right.
Maybe some Redenticide even to kill them off, and so he's willing to let that go and to aid the Whisperers.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wonder if the Court of Owls know he's now said that, because they are all-knowing, all-seeing, and all-to-wooing.
You never know. They might have somebody in the Whispers. You never know. But no, I do like this idea that Bruce is kind of saying, well, I went along with it because, I went along with it because, like, I didn't think there was anything further to go, but now I know there is, and there's something that's out there. So that's quite cool. And he's still undercover. He's still hidden. So, which is quite cool. I think it's time to get on to the other side of the stories that were going on. The return of Butch Gilzine. Poor Butch. He gets kidnapped by Ed, himself and Tabitha, and now is being punished for something that he definitely didn't do. And because he's not trusted by Ed, Ed just keeps going further and further with his punishment of him.
Yeah, well, as Ed says, he thought that Butch would resist. He thought he would play dumb. And unfortunately for Ed, it's the truth. and unfortunately, even more so for Tabitha and for Butch, it's also the truth. I mean, Ed is electrocuting him and then pulls out his pièce de résistance, the mini guillotine, and devises a way for Tabitha to save herself, but obviously to kill Butch. And if she doesn't, then she loses her hand.
And not for the first time, I've wanted to bring in Nygma-isms of the week. It does have probably my favorite line that Nygma's ever said, where he's describing the choices between what would happen to Butch and what would happen to Tabitha, and describes it as, will we see the zap of heartbreak or the sound of one hand clapping? Great little moment. It does really feel like the Riddler as well. It's cool.
Yeah, it's Ed is taking massive pleasure from all of this, and it's just really good. But we do get a interesting little tidbit here about the potential relationship between Butch and Tabitha, where she says, "I like you, Butch. I'm just not in a love place right now." And despite having said those heartbreaking, at least for Butch, heartbreaking words, Butch kind of says, "I don't mind that. I'm in love with you. You don't have to be in love with me.
Yeah.
You can still kill me." And that seems to just help her to effectively hold her breath and off with her head.
Oh, it's a nice romantic moment, really.
It is, with a lot of blood. And we do then have, obviously Barbara runs in as well. Well, no, that's later, I think, but they do. Butch says something with regards to, "I'm glad I put a bullet in her head."
Exactly.
And starts shouting out effectively what he probably would have done. And Ed suddenly realizes the error of his ways and that, Butch was not involved here. And so Ed does allow them to put their hand on ice and to get themselves over to Gotham General Hospital, in time to hopefully save Tabitha. Otherwise, it's going to be interesting. Butch and Tabitha, both with metal hands.
I know, yeah.
Clunk, clink, clunk.
A match made in heaven, in some senses. They're both missing exactly the same appendage. But I do like that there's a kind of an ongoing gag every time somebody finds out that Butch and Tabitha are together. They just go, ugh, like Barbara is completely disgusted at this idea. They were in some kind of relationship. I presume when you're as crazy as Barbara is, you don't really expect the person that you're going out with to stay with you. Unless it's Jim, then you try and force him to stay with you. But it does seem like she just seems a little bit annoyed that Tabitha would go back to Butch. She doesn't seem put out or angry at Tabitha. She still goes to take care of her and try and save her. In fact, try and save both of them. But she doesn't seem that put out by it.
But she's not enamored with it either. Not at all. And I think that brings us on to our Case Note 5, which is, Barbara, clever Babs, has worked out that Oswald is the likely person to have, tampered with Isabella's brakes, and that he is in love with Ed Nygma, which is really interesting. That comes through an encounter with Olga. Great to have Olga back on the screen, but and in the hospital, as they're racing to save Tabitha's hand, she's effectively making her move on the crown of Gotham, that she is going to use it for a power play to create war between Oswald and Ed.
Potentially, yeah. It kind of feels like she's either going to do that or she's going to use it for some blackmail, to get them into a higher position within Gotham. So again, Oswald is the man with power now. Every type of power. He has legal power, being the mayor of Gotham, and he also has all the power of the underworld. So it seems like she wants to increase her position, and this is a great thing to hold over Oswald, that she knows he's the one that murdered Isabella, and how angry Ed would be, and also she knows there's a relationship between the two. So that's all interesting stuff that's going on for Barbara.
I feel she's going for the mutually assured destruction vibe, that,
Maybe.
she will play it off through whisperers to Ed, to Oswald, and it seems like she is trying to keep them out of it, not to involve themselves in the nitty gritty of it. But, few words said here, a few words said there. a little hint here and a nod there that ultimately to allow them to go at it
Right.
and destroy themselves. That's kind of how I read it. So it'll be interesting. And of course, Butcher's all up for that now.
Yeah.
He probably can see himself, getting some importance back into the underworld of Gotham.
Absolutely. I still don't think that he's going to forgive Ed for taking the hand of the woman he loves. That's not a good one either, is it?
Probably
Especially for no
not.
reason.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's our top 5 points for this episode. Obviously there's a Bullockism of the week in here. Bullock is back as captain of the GCPD.
Absolutely.
One of the things I loved, I know it's not a Bullockism, it's not particularly a line. I love that he's back on the Pepto-Bismol, just like he was in episode 1 of the season. We were talking about the fact that Bullock has changed quite a lot over the season. He's not the funny sidekick as much as he was to begin with. But I love this moment as Jim comes back in and sees him just drinking some Pepto-Bismol out of the
Back
bottle,
on the Pepto.
you know.
He was drinking that right back in episode 1 of season 1. So yeah, he loves his Pepto. Yeah. It's probably quite grim to drink,
I don't
actually.
think you can drink it neat like that, no.
I reckon there's a bit of whiskey in there, actually, just to liven the Pepto up, actually. But certainly, like Jim tells Harvey Bullock to keep a discreet eye on Mario. Don't look at him.
Yeah, I love that little moment where, you know, Harvey goes back to kind of stupid Harvey, really, where he's told by Jim, you must keep an eye on Mario so he doesn't leave the GCPD, and then you see Harvey looking straight at him. What I love about the payoff of that is Mario does get away from the GCPD about half an hour later. He just tells Harvey some excuse by saying, oh, I'll just go sort this out, I don't trust any of you, and still gets out of the GCPD. So no help there to Jim. Yeah, really enjoyed that. There's some good other moments in the episode. One of the ones that stood out to me was Bruce and Selena. I love the moment of Bruce where he says to her, there's really no way of me asking you to stay behind that doesn't end in you yelling at me, is there? And she says no.
Absolutely.
Love that little moment.
And of course, there is Barbara's tracking down of the location of Butch and Tabitha, and it leads her to an equipment store for stocks and bondage. You can get anything in Gotham, and I do like how she extracts the information. Not that I would be into that kind of playing around, but I do like the fact that she puts the guy who's behind the counter into the stocks and then extracts the information through whipping. And
It's
that
fabulous.
staccato voice.
Well, yes, with a whip in between each one of those moments.
Love
Yeah, really cool.
So good.
Really cool. And I love that at the end of it,
Classy
she
Babs.
leaves him in the stocks and says, I'll come back next week to reward you if I get to find my friends. It's good. And he seems perfectly happy with that. Although he doesn't like being left in the store, in the stocks in the store, because obviously he will have more customers to attend to. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. No, some really good moments in
Or
this
maybe
episode.
the customers will attend to him.
Maybe. John, what did you think of the episode overall?
Really enjoyed this episode. You know, a few new developments in here, really moving it along. Definitely gonna give this another solid 4 stocks and bondage out of 5. That is the place for all your stocks and bondage equipment needs. A bit like this episode. I just think, see Mario obviously infected with the Tetch virus, really good. And obviously, it doesn't bode well for Leslie. But I'm loving that development. Having Carmine Falcone back in centrally for this episode, really nice. A little bit more about the Court of Owls now. They're really starting to come into their own. The Whisperers, a bit of backstory here between them. Barbara, always a pleasure to have on screen, especially when she is extracting information in the way that she does. Just so funny, just good fun, great, just a great bit of light-hearted fun from the writers. And of course, obviously, this whole thing with Ed and Oswald now, potentially, starting to come to the simmer. Ed obviously now is, who has done it? And maybe he already knows. Maybe he kind of thought it's either, it's one of 2 or 3 people. And maybe Oswald was in that. And
I don't know. I don't know whether he'd think
interesting.
I don't know whether he'd think it's Oswald because the relationship has intensified so much and he's helped Oswald out so much. I don't think he's seeing the love interest side, which is the only reason that Barbara has realised it's Oswald.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. I'm sure that maybe Barbara will have a word in his ear at some point.
But again, a great episode. And I mean, so far, I've said this before, Gotham season 3 is really solid and is stonking it. Loving it.
It's really, really good. I forgot one of my other favourite lines. I'm going to throw it in here. I have really enjoyed the episode, but I forgot one of my other favourite moments, which is Oswald, when he's threatening Barbara when she arrives in, cocky as hell, carrying that gun into a room full of men with guns pointed at her. And Oswald says, one more step and I'm going to blow your brains all over the carpet and Olga will have to clean them up. She's good at getting out stains. Love that little moment with Oswald. But yes, another really, really good episode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think with that, on to some feedback. We have some feedback again from Daniel Butcher.
Yeah.
Alfred, don't smell that. I was really sad, says Daniel, that Alfred came under Ivy's control.
No.
Yeah.
He seems to be smarter than that.
He is.
But he didn't expect it to happen, of course.
But it's the allure. I'm liking that. You know, it's a good. I'm glad that Ivy grown up has worked, and I think if you're going to effectively rapidly age her, then you need to start bringing these things into play for Ivy, so that it really can get a flavour of Poison Ivy from obviously. The comics, and this is really good. I mean, I still think now that they've done this as well, you know, okay, she's making potions out of plants. She's loving plants more than man and humans.
Yeah,
but she's still naive. She still doesn't seem malicious in any way. She just, you know, and I'm wondering,
it's just to get what she
will
wants.
there be that change in her character where it become, you know, a bit like with Barbara, that kind of descent into vindictiveness of the, you know, the master female poisoner who is deciding to take this like beyond just maybe petty thief, but you know, she really extends those that web of ivy around Gotham. I'm really interested to see that.
Well, one of the things I do really like about Poison Ivy's character is that she's usually motivated by saving plants or saving something, saving the environment. It's what she's usually motivated by. She's not usually a real big villain. You do get some arcs that she is, but it's generally coming motivated from something. She's not trying to just steal jewels.
I suppose that's true, but it also does potentially lead to the death and destruction of innocent people.
People, though, not plants.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That would be her t-shirt if she wore one.
Yeah. And Daniel goes on and says, I do love Butcher's return, and there is a part of me that really thinks he is a true romantic.
He is.
He really wants to take the pain instead of her being tortured. Butch totally was going to die instead of let Tabitha lose a hand before we found out she wasn't in a love place. Wow. Even with that, our boy is a total romantic. Wow, oh wow. Tabby does love him back. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was a really nice little scene, and the way it built up, it was what would she, won't she? And in the end, from a point of, okay, this isn't going to end well for Butch, you know, his true feelings for her came out and they were reciprocated. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really cool, actually. Yeah. And you know, nice to see some stuff for our lovely Butch in the episodes. Yeah, that's really cool.
Daniel then goes on and says, what? The court has enemies? Well, this could be interesting. I don't think the guys with masks as Talons, but could they be MCU'd? Former Talons with no healing, or at least some more science-based healing. But these assassins with owl teeth, is that a Talon? Now, dudes in Nightwing masks do make great MCU Talon, though. Mm-hmm. Is Mario a Talon, maybe?
Everyone's a Talon.
Everyone is a Talon. But I think Mario is crazy.
Yes. Yeah, no,
crazy in love, literally.
Absolutely. If any of you haven't heard Daniel's podcast that he did about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The MCUing, it's a term that he came up with, which is a version, a Marvel Cinematic Universe version of a character. So applied to the DC universe, it's how they're translating the Talons into the TV show, I suppose, it would be the best explanation.
It'd be great to see a Nightwing of some description, a proto Nightwing coming in.
I don't think you can have a Nightwing without a Batman, though.
I think you're right.
As I've said before, though, this Gotham is an alternate universe version of the Gotham that we see in the comic books. There's loads of stuff going on here that you probably wouldn't have expected to see in Gotham prior to Batman coming along.
But even just something random like they did with the Graysons for the fairground with Jerome, you don't really hit into it or run with it, but you just a nice little bit of Easter egging going on.
It would be nice to see the Graysons back with a little baby in tow.
Yeah, it would be. Daniel goes on to say, I do love how Babs is showing friendly loyalty, even if it is in a very painful way.
It's kind of her thing, isn't it?
Yeah. She is all about the craziness as Babs. I think, I think after the first season, we were fairly like, oh, what are they doing with Barbara and how is this going to revolve? But actually, in the end, this is totally
She's awesome.
Great.
She's awesome. We love Barbara. Thanks so much for your feedback, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daniel.
And hot off the presses directly from our Gmail, just after we recorded, comes some feedback from Claire Payne. Thanks, Claire, for sending the feedback. She starts with, Hi, John and Derek. Gotham Season 3 seems to be getting better and better with each episode. This one is already in my top 10. I learned a few important things from this episode. Frittata is a crustless quiche, Olga is a whiz with stains, and Butch doesn't tip very well. One of the reasons I'm so happy that Jim and Harvey are working together again is the scene where Jim asks Harvey to keep an eye on Mario. Jim, keep an eye on Mario. So Harvey looks at Mario. Jim, what are you doing? Harvey, I'm keeping an eye on Mario. Jim says, don't look at him. That was our bullockism of the week.
Absolutely.
She says, I laughed so much at this scene. I watched it about 3 times. Like comedy when done so well in Gotham. Claire goes on to say, the Mario and Falcone story is so intriguing, especially when Falcone removed a tooth from one of the assassins and it's branded with an owl. Then the meeting with Catherine shows just how in control the court are, and assuming Carmine and Mario are safe for now. With the reveal that Mario's infected with the virus and it's jealousy that's his darkness, it had me wondering when he got infected, was it back in episode 6 when Jervison had Leslie hostage, or has Mario been injecting himself? Yeah, he probably had access to the blood being in the hospital, I suppose.
Yeah, it could have been when Leslie was hostage. He's got access to blood bank, I suppose, but not to the crime blood, maybe.
Maybe not.
He's working in a normal hospital, but yeah, it seems as though he's been infected without him knowing it, and it's only with the onset of the voices that he now knows, obviously with what's happened with Captain Barnes as well, that he is now infected.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Interesting, we'll probably find that out pretty soon. Claire goes on to say, the mystery key is definitely connected to the Court of Owls, and quite rightly too. Alfred is concerned that Bruce might have gone back on their agreement. I really liked how Ivy used her perfume on Alfred to escape, and then ends up being held hostage by the Whispering Gang, who seeks revenge on the Court of Owls. Then 2 members get slashed by a court's assassin. I wonder what it unlocks that the court fears. Definitely going to find that one out pretty soon, I'd say.
I wonder what it will be.
Yeah, it's really intriguing, isn't it?
Is it a list of all the people who are in the court?
That would be very cool, because that would be the big thing that they probably fear, is finding out all the members of the court. Yeah, definitely. And finally, Claire says, Nygma is perfect at being gleeful when he's dishing out revenge. Unfortunately for Butch and Tabitha, they are in the receiving end and are not guilty in the murder of Isabella. I just love the way Ed explains how every bit of torture device works. All the scenes of his storyline were done so well, from Butch never knowing anyone called Isabel, cue name rage from Ed, Tabitha's hand being put in the guillotine, Butch confessing his love for her, and Tabitha admitting in her own way that she does too. When the blade drops and Tabby's hand is cut off, a realization to Ed when Butch says he shot Isabella in the head, that Butch and Tabitha are not responsible for her death. My favourite bit of the scene is when Barbara turns up and Ed tells her that Tabitha's hands need to be put on ice. Yeah, hilarious moment. Really, really good. And to end it off, Claire says, I really am enjoying this season of Gotham. It has me pondering so many questions. Many thanks, Claire.
Yeah, thank you so much, Claire. I mean, yeah, I think this season of Gotham is absolutely solid. Really, really good. I think Ed Nygma in the role of a torturer is really, really good.
Yeah.
And then his kind of almost funny way in which he kind of goes, oops, my mistake, once he realizes that it isn't them and what he's put them through. I think is, it's almost like he kind of regresses back to a younger state or something. He's trying to be bashful a bit that he ever was torturing them or something. Really good scene. And I think the interaction between Butch and Tabitha is really nice, and it's in a non-sentimental way as well, I think, which really fits their characters. It's romantic and heartfelt, but it's not kind of cliche in any way. Really, really good. And I definitely suspect that the Whispering Gang will be of interest moving forward. It'd be interesting to see who they are, what they're about, who leads them. Is it that group, the three men, or is it wider in terms of its organization? Definitely be interesting to see now.
Really enjoying the season of Gotham, and thanks so much again for your feedback, Claire.
Thanks, Claire.
Back to the rest of the podcast.
Remember that if you want to leave any comments or any discussion points, you can send them through to our email at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Alternatively, you can join our Facebook group. Just head on over to facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV podcast. And of course, you can also leave a voicemail on our website. Be the first for Gotham TV podcast. We've had a few on our Marvel podcast over at Defenders TV podcast, but be the first, and for 90 seconds, you can have your lovely voice on voicemail on our podcast.
Absolutely.
Just head over to gothamtvpodcast.com, and on the right hand side you can leave a voicemail of up to 90 seconds. And of course, just on the podcast, remember that you can listen and subscribe to us at gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes, or just search Gotham TV Podcast on any other good podcast catcher.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week, the 21st of June, with Gotham Season 3, Episode 11, Beware the Green-Eyed Monster. Jealousy is coming to Gotham.
Or is it Killer Croc?
Maybe.
I hope so. I have been dying to see Killer Croc.
It would be hilarious if instead of jealousy, Killer Croc appears for no reason.
But
for an episode.
why not? It will be jealousy.
It will be.
But I want it to be, maybe it'll be a jealous Killer Croc.
There you go.
There you go. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week.
Absolutely. Thank you as always for listening, and we will speak with you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.